Roll call for the City Council meeting of Wednesday, September 21st at 7:30 p.m. Mr. Mursky, Mrs. Arrington is absent. Mr. Brennan, Mr. Jones, Mr. Kwiatkowski, Mr. Winarski, Mr. Witherspoon. Please rise for a moment of silent meditation and Pledge of Allegiance.
Mr. President, I would ask that as we go into this moment of silent meditation, that we remember all of those in our community that are less fortunate than we are in any and every way, both locally and globally. I'd ask that we will remember those who have lost loved ones in our community since the last time we were in these chambers. And finally, I would ask that our God and Creator give us the wisdom to be able to take the right information and make the best decisions for the citizens of the City of Erie. Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of minutes for the meeting of September 7th, 2016, and bills for payment on September 16th and 23rd, 2016. Mr. Brennan, Mr. Jones, Mr. Kwiatkowski, Mr. Winarski, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Mursky.
Okay, and that will bring us to our presentations for the evening. Mr. Witherspoon.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good evening to all that are here. It's my pleasure and honor to make several presentations this evening. The first would be to former Councilwoman Ruby Jenkins' husband, and I would ask the city clerk if she would read that, please. Yes, and that's right.
September 21st, 2016, by Mr. Witherspoon, seconded by Council members Arrington, Brennan, Jones, Kwiatkowski, and Winarski and Mursky. Resolved by the Council of the City of Erie that whereas the City Council of Erie wishes to recognize September as National Sickle Cell Awareness Month, public awareness of sickle cell disease, education, and information. And whereas Ruby Jenkins' husband is recognized as pioneer and founder of the sickle cell program in Erie City and Erie County. Over 45 years, Mrs. Jenkins' husband has provided advocacy for sickle cell anemia. And whereas the sickle cell program has received praise for its exemplary initiative in outreach activities, in networking with other providers, and in delivering premier quality service to target populations to this day. So, therefore be it resolved by the Council of the City of Erie that this commendation is presented to Ruby Jenkins' husband and is proud to extend the United Neighborhood Facilities Healthcare Corporation's sincerest compliments and congratulations for ensuring thousands more continue to be served by the UNFHCC Sickle Cell Anemia Program Services.
Thank you. It's very difficult to understand the numerical calculation. She's been doing this for 45 years and she's only 36 years old. So we'll figure that one out at another date. I had the opportunity of meeting with Mrs. Husband a few days ago, and she brought me up to date on sickle cell. Of course, I've heard about it, but she also informed me that she is the contact person here in northwestern Pennsylvania, that she is contacted by the hospitals, the schools, any programs, the community centers. She's on a speaking tour as well. So she does a lot for sickle cell. And for those of us who have not had sickle cell tests, you need to have that done. Sometimes it's scary. You're afraid, well, I may have it. Well, if you do, you need some help. And she does a fine job. Ruby.
Thank you so much, Mr. Witherspoon, and to Council for all of your support. This month and every other month that we come to you for sickle cell awareness is because it's so important that people know that there are services here in Erie and that will help them and support them. Sickle cell is a chronic blood disorder. People are sick most of the time. And in our work with individuals and families, we bring them hope that there are treatments and advances, that they will have quality of life. So we are honored tonight to be honored, to serve the public, and hope that our service will continue to help others. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It looked like she never left. We do have a vacant seat for one meeting. Just for one meeting, you welcome sit there. Okay, our next presentation.
Mr. Witherspoon, if I could just say, it's funny to see Mrs. Jenkins' husband receiving an award as opposed to giving one. It's a little interesting role reversal.
Yeah, I was told in the caucus room that I need one more to surpass her record.
3 mil.
I think 3 or 4 more.
Oh,
3 mil. That counters.
Okay. The next award is a community service award based on leadership. And this year, a young man, Charlie, come on up, please. Charlie Lichtenwalter. He played in the league for 3 years, and I watched him grow. He came in very, very timid. And I kept telling him, you are my Charles Barkley. You are my Charles Barkley. It took 1.5 years. Then I'm watching Charlie knock people down. And then I said, Charlie, and he's standing over them. I said, Charlie, there's 322 black males here. I don't care. I said, that's the attitude I like. They came to know Charlie. They respect Charlie, and Charlie respect him. The reason he's receiving this award is because he came back last year and coached. And that's what we try to do. Have a young man, young lady, play the league, then come back and coach and give back to their community. So Charlie, on behalf of the Spoons League and all the individuals who volunteer, we thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Councilman Witherspoon and Council for giving me the opportunity to come up here and give recognition to the work that I put in with my boys this summer. I'd like to thank Mel not only for giving me the opportunity to coach, but just for all the basketball and life help that he's given me from over the years. I think that I'd be generally further back in life if it wasn't for Mel. I'd also like to thank my parents for providing transportation to all the games and all the practices that my boys and I had. That's a great help. Also, my dad provided Gatorade. For a funny story, the second game that we had that we brought Gatorade, before the boys even decided to get into layup lines, they asked me, where's our Gatorade? So I think they appreciated that. Lastly, I'd like to thank my players for being very coachable and listening and understanding what I was trying to do with them. That really made my job a lot easier, and it made it a lot of fun. Again, thank you to everyone who's helped, and thank you, Mel.
Shake their hand. Next, I would like to ask Mr. Jesse Tate to come up and assist me. Jesse's been with me for 26 years. Never had a problem or issue with JT. We don't agree all the time, but that's healthy. Somebody said amen. Okay, Jay, you got it.
Thank you, Mel. Thank you, Council. The next two gentlemen that I'm bringing up, I had the pleasure of working with them on the Strong Vincent staff. They played in the league, and they, again, when we on a website, when you're filling out the application, the one thing that we ask is, will you be willing to coach after your time is done? And these two gentlemen came back, coached, and gave all their time and effort, and we just want to honor them. The first one is Jarrell Connor. Give him a round of applause.
Thank you, JT. Thank you, Council. Thank you, Mr. Mel. I truly did not know I was getting honored with an award. This is truly great, considering that everything that I believe in is for like pushing these kids forward in life on a positive direction. So me giving back to the kids is only necessary for the community, not just for me, for everybody to give back, for these little kids to grow. So I truly thank you. I thank you all. I'm going to continue to put my best foot forward, and I just truly ask if everybody else can do the same. Thank you.
Our next award is Brevin Manis, who actually just graduated from high school and came right back to coach successfully in the league. So we really appreciate that. Give him a round of applause for Brevin Manis. You notice Mr. Jones, he's an East High Warrior, so Mr. Jones was first to shake his hand.
I just want to thank JT and Mel, Council, everybody for giving me the chance to get this award. I want to thank the Jones family and the Strong Vincent coaching staff for showing me what a good coach is. Thank you.
This last honoree is our smallest honoree, and there's a story behind this. I'm not going to take you guys time, but this gentleman, we were playing a game, and one of the teams that we had, they weren't that good. So in a meeting, we decided to change some of the components on the team. So on the day that we were going to do that, this gentleman was on a team with all kinds of stars and athletes, and I'm in the court, and Mel goes, hey, tell him he's got to go on this other team. And the significance behind that is, usually in the past 26 years when I had to do that, the kids gave tantrums, and so I was like, oh boy, something else to do. So I go to the kid and I say, you gotta give me your jersey, you gotta go on this team. And the kid was like, okay. And I'm sitting there like, no incident. So right at that moment, that really stuck with me, and I went to Mel. I said, man, we got to honor this kid, because in the 26 years I've never seen a kid just do that without any problems at all. So this award is going to go to Demario Crawford. Come on up, Demario. This kid went from the best team to the worst team and helped the team out to actually win a couple of games. So we really appreciate you, buddy. You want to say anything?
Yeah. I want to thank everybody that helped me get here today with my coaches, and thank the council for giving me this award.
Good job, buddy. Got the police. Yeah. You'll get them? Yeah. Good job, young man.
Thanks. JT. You know, time goes by very quickly, and things happen. But the next award is a year late, but we got it. We caught up, though. Is to our Erie finest, to the Erie Police Department, gentlemen. Without their presence at the court, we're unsure what may have happened, but we know that their presence protected the kids and their families. Rose?
Okay, this is the Community Policing Award presented to the Erie Police Department Neighborhood Action Team for their outstanding service in providing a safe opportunity for our families during Spoon Summer Basketball League 2015.
Yes, sir. Yes, don't go nowhere yet. Hold it. Now, that was 2015. Told you I was going to catch up. Oh, okay. This is for 2016. So we're on time. We like to present that. It basically says the same thing, but we made it in a plaque presentation for you. And we thank you very much. We hope to see you again in 2017. We just thank you so much. Yes, sir. Thank you. And finally, is former retired Chief Bowers. Is he present? Chief Bowers is not present. With the retirement and the many years that I've known him and I've worked with him, that police department did a good job. And we like to say thank you on behalf. We'll make sure he received this plaque. Okay. Would everyone stand up that was involved with Spoons League, whether you had a volunteer assignment, you had a child in there? Please stand up. Corey, thank you very much. It does not happen without a lot of volunteers and advice. Corey is the president and CEO of Cato, outstanding organization for youth in Erie City and Erie County. Thank you very much. Mr. President, thank you.
And with that, we will continue on with the meeting. Any requests for repository sales? Any requests for repository sales? Please come to the microphone.
Hello, everybody. Good evening, and thank you for this time. I'm here on behalf of my sister and for the location of 824 East Avenue, a vacant space.
Could you please exit quietly? Thank you.
I'm here on behalf of my sister for the...
State your name and address for the record.
Yeah, Durgam Absawi, 826 East Avenue. And the property next to me is 824 East Avenue. And it's a vacant space. And I would like to get that. You know, I've been taking care of that space for like over 5 years. And I've been doing the grass, mowing. And I own half a portion of it, just a half. And the other half, I don't know who owns it. I guess the guy that sold the building, but he's nowhere to be found. I can't find him anywhere. So I've been taking care of it, like mowing, keeping every, up to date with it if it needs anything. And I would like to purchase it just, to have like a little, a backyard for my family, for my whole family, because we don't have a backyard down there. And I would just like to use that as a backyard, just to have the family cooking out or something, instead of going to the beach every day and for all that long drive. So that's all I have to say for it.
Any questions from council?
No.
Seeing none? Okay, we will vote on this at the next meeting, but thank you. You have everything squared away with the city clerk?
Yes, I do.
Okay,
thank you guys. I appreciate it. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Any other requests for repository sales? Seeing none, we'll continue on with the meeting. Citizens to be heard. The first citizen that signed up previous was Julia Calippo. I do not see Julia in the audience, So we will open it up to the floor. Any citizens to be heard?
Good evening, Council.
Good evening. Good evening.
My name is McDonald. My property is 19th and Reed. You know, I have some issues. That boy that got beat up, I forget his name, but anyway, y'all know who I'm talking about. Later on, the news had out that he admitted that he tried to snatch the policeman's gun. That's one of the damnedest lies I ever heard. The reason I could say that is because I experienced that myself out there on 90. I've been going fishing for, I don't know, probably 40 or 50 years. I'd always go and park at the end of the bridge, the crossing bridge, and I'd walk down 90 to the fishing spot. I'm going down about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I parked my truck up there on the bridge, and I'm walking down 90. When I get about a block from where I'm going, policeman pulled up behind me. He blew his siren or something, and I turned around and looked, and he motioned me to come back. I walked on back. Where you going? I'm going fishing down there. I've been going fishing down there for years. They held me up for about 3 hours. They couldn't find nothing on me. I don't know. I don't think they treated a serial killer that bad. But anyway, my truck is up on the bridge, at the end of the bridge. He got in and out of his car about 8 or 10 times. I don't know why he held me there so long. Because I hadn't did anything. I'm cleaner than a lot of y'all up there. So he told me, said, well, you can't go down there. I'm going to take you back to your car. But I got the handcuffs. He put those handcuffs on me. Whosoever said that boy tried to grab that policeman's gun is a liar. I couldn't hardly. Those handcuffs were so tight, I couldn't move. Your hands are behind you. How are you going to grab somebody's gun in your hand, your handcuffed behind you? Who's never told that lie should be ashamed of themselves, because that wasn't nothing but a lie. That boy couldn't grab nobody's gun. I couldn't hardly move. I experienced it. You could take my word for it. And if you don't let them handcuff you, that's a shame. That's a shame. If somebody did me like that, they'd have to go on and kill me, because I wouldn't want to live behind what they did to that boy. Beat his eye out. That don't make sense. And none of you all are saying anything. So you must go along with it. Somebody should say something. You're supposed to be up there for the taxpayers and the public, but you're not saying nothing. That's a damn shame. Excuse my language, but that's a shame. You all should be ashamed of yourselves if you don't say nothing. You could do something because you're hiring them. Not the state troopers, but you're hiring the policemen that beat that boy up. And they're still working from what I hear. I hope don't now do that to me. Kill me. Don't beat me up. Go on and kill me. Because you got a serial killer. And I'm not kidding with you. You know I'm not. Beat that boy up like that. That's a shame before God. And you all ain't saying nothing. What are you up there for? You should say something. Somebody should say something. That was your kid, you'd be raised in holy hell. Y'all, I don't know what you're up there for, but it's a waste of time. You don't do nothing but for nobody but Joe. Our kids, they are non-existent as far as you all are concerned. But let me tell you something. Those are God's kids, and He will deal with y'all for it because you're not doing what you're supposed to do. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other citizens to be heard?
Hello, my name is Joshua Rizzo. Live at 413 West 5th Street, Apartment 1. I'm here to talk today about stress and bullying that's been rampant, but not the kind of bullying that you think. That's always been there. I'm talking about like our city councils, our government officials. They're bullying each other. It's not you. Like I just saw, you just experienced that with the county council bullying you, and Harrisburg has been bullying City of Erie because the schools are underfunded. It's rampant there, and someone wanted to talk about corruption. They didn't come up. They're quite right. But I'm going to come back from that. I want to talk about we are humanity. We're a creative species. We can work our way out of this. The country is so many $1 trillion in debt, and it's struggling to even do anything to be able to pay that. I was thinking why can't if we can't get ourselves together and put the country $18 trillion in debt. What I mean by that is if we can get ourselves in shape, put ourselves back together. It would take resources, but we don't have the pieces of paper to get these resources where they need to be, so that we can be in a position, so we can be upstanding and not struggling as a community, as a city, as a country. There's so many creative ideas we could come up with to solve so many matters. I don't know, maybe it's a matter of diplomacy, and maybe some old men have gone senile, and people are just taking their word for it. I'm just here to talk about the stress in general. In this community, there's so many bad things going on that we haven't collectively addressed. There's drugs going around like heroin that's causing a lot of stressful situations for those particular people and others. What can we do about that? Not directly, indirectly, helping people get themselves together. Think of it was there some sort of a chi that we can distribute as a sort of placebo effect, like an engineer would to try to put all the pieces of the puzzle back together? How can we help, and how can we help each other start to help? We want to be an influence on everyone, but we have to start with ourselves. Where do we need to go from here? We can all work together. All right, it's nice coming up here, trying to give a message to hope to everybody. Hopefully the future calls for less stress all around, carefree lifestyles, and the maintaining of our cities and the environment. All harmony, it can be attained. We are creative thinkers. We just got to start working together and work with each other. All right, thank you. I love you all. You have a good day.
You too. Thank you for your time. Any other citizens to be heard?
5 minutes. Oh, I was prepared for only 2. Good evening, Council. Dan Olson. First, let me thank you for providing this space for voices to be heard. Let me just start out with a little song lyric, and I won't sing it and embarrass myself. It says, "I'm just a soul whose intentions are good. Lord, please don't let me be misunderstood." Now, that being said, let's get into it. Last time I was here, I was emotional and I spoke with the flow of consciousness. Today I'm going to keep myself in line with these papers so Mirsky doesn't have to correct me from the dais, the psychology of control and the upper levels and me down here. But I want it to be understood that I'm speaking with authority here. Period. I got a master's degree. You guys put me on a stage. I was recognized as a future leader of this country. I'm not here floating around little solutions and begging for little handouts. I'm speaking with all the authority that my degree in communications affords me. Period. So that being said, now that I drew that line, let me look at my paper here. In a circle, I'm here to discuss ideas related to what a formerly incarcerated individual can become. And I'm doing that from the framework of Rosie Brodati's nomadic ethic. You can, education's good. Anybody can look into it. It's about becoming an affirmation. So, I'm forced to come here because the questions that I ask are purposely ignored by this administration, I feel, and the group called Unified Erie, who will soon present their plan to the public on the 27th. I won't go deep into the Unified Erie, but the concept of separation of church and state is valid, along with the concept of religious leaders asking for kudos for doing the things they should have been doing since the birth of organized religion. This isn't the time or place to really talk about that, but, attachment and all that, if you're giving and expecting a return, blah, 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 that's a whole different thing. So I guess I can still go off the line while on paper. Regardless, what I feel is local leaders either have their heads in the stand or they attempt to use complexity as a deferral regards to every question I have. I'm sick and tired of when I'm talking to somebody who supposedly has power telling me how complex things are. I know how complex things are. I have a degree in the complexity of these things. You gave it to me. So, here publicly I ask, what is the relationship between a formerly incarcerated and the government? The government, local, state, and federal, seem to have no problem incarcerating its citizens and then regurgitating them back as rehabilitated while developing programs encouraging local businesses to hire. But I'm asking, how much does the government practice what it preaches in terms of that? I'm currently practically begging to clean the toilets at the Blasco Library. That's a job available for the city. You guys probably know it. I applied for it. I want to clean some toilets so my son can have some food on the table. I need some cash. But at the same time, I'm also applying to work with Tom Wolf and his initiative to help create what? You guys know it, right? You guys know. Jobs that pay, schools that teach, and government that works. So, that's 2 points I drew here, if you're following along. In terms of government, realistic points in terms of my education of what can a person formerly incarcerated do. Can I clean toilets for the city? Yay or nay? Can I work for the government? Yay or nay? There's a line there. You guys are linear. That's how you work. Now tell me where on that line I can fall in and work. You know what I mean? I'm going off, but you got I noticed, this is off the cuff, you got JFK asking not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. Yeah, that's what I'm asking you. And while we're quoting dead men, he's got another quote, too, that I like better, that says, when you make peaceful revolution impossible, you make violent revolution inevitable. Period. You guys want to talk about Orange is the New Black. It's more than a show you binge watch on Netflix. It's a life that I'm living. Period. So, that's pretty much all I want to say in terms of what can I do in this city with my education that isn't demeaning and degrading to me, and in turn, all the other people that also have education, have bettered their lives, and shown repeatedly that they're quote-unquote rehabilitated, reformed, whatever the in term is for the day. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Any other citizens to be heard?
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
My name's Joseph K. Curlett. Before I get into the topic that I came to speak about, I want to talk about the availability and accessibility of Erie City Councilmen. Because I have 5 emails, and Rose can attest to the fact that I've called and left messages for Kaz, for Bob Mursky, the president. I believe Curtis Jones got a message. This goes back to August 3rd for you, Kaz. Haven't heard from you, dude. I hit you again on August 5th. Rose, can you attest how many times I called and left messages for those councilmen? Was it more than 10 times?
I don't remember, Joe.
Was it more than 5?
Probably.
Okay. Over a span of how long? A month?
Mr. Curlett, please address council, not the clerk.
Well, you could answer. Why haven't you responded to my emails, telephone calls to your home, left messages at the city clerk's office? Why can't I get any time with council?
Mr. Curlett, with all
Yes,
due
sir.
respect, you've called my house at 11:45 in the evening.
I called at
You've called
8:40
my
in the
house.
morning, too.
You've called my house at 6:30 in the morning.
No, that's not true.
No, that is absolutely true. And I did call you
I have
back.
my cell phone to prove it, sir.
Gentlemen,
So what do you have?
Sir,
what do you have? You making allegations?
Sir.
Why didn't you answer?
With all due respect.
You still haven't called me.
With all due
You know, I was trying to reach you. And Kaz, I was trying to reach you about for Mr. The gentleman just spoke, the first gentleman that spoke, Mr. McDonald, about the police fight on 12th and Wayne. Aren't you the city council police liaison, Mr. Kaz?
You're not, Mr. Curlett, you know the rules.
Well, I have to address the president.
You're here to talk.
Yeah, no. Rose, did you get the information out that I asked you to dig out? Did you read it, Mr. President?
I did. It's right here.
And it says what? That you can respond. Correct?
It says, what, do you want the ones that you underlined?
I underlined it.
Oh, I underlined.
Oh, I'm sorry. You underlined that, Miss Roby? Yeah. So, under our rules of council, this is the time for the citizens to be heard. This is not question and answer time.
What does the policy say, sir?
The rules of council which we adopted at our first meeting are that this is the time for the citizens to be heard. It's not dialogue.
Let me get into the topic that I'm here tonight for. I'm here to speak for the 1,200 charter school students that are going to lose their privilege to ride on city school buses, on school district school buses. I understand that the city is taking over the offices and authority of the EMTA. I guess that's correct. The paper says the city and the county are fighting, but the city is going to be taking charge of that authority. So I'm here tonight on behalf of those 1,200 students that are going to be forced to ride on local transportation to get to and from school without bus monitors on the bus. Probably have to arrive at irregular hours unless the EMTA is going to adjust the hours for the children. I can't see how the school district, Mr. Ballams, the superintendent, can balance 1,200 students' safety and health for $550,000 to help balance his deficit budget. Ever since he's been superintendent, there's been a deficit. I know that's not the city's issue, but I'm here tonight because I see this plan to disband the school buses for the charter school students as a way to subsidize EMTA. That's what I believe is going on behind the scenes. This is a new regional center. They got expenses, new expenses they want to expand.
Thank you for your time. Any other citizens to be heard?
Good evening, Council. My name is John Whaley. I live at 447 Gordon Lane. I had a different topic tonight, but I changed my tune after I read the agenda. I like to be flexible. I like to be bounce around. And every week, every 2 weeks, I come here. It used to be every week, and then that was changed. There wasn't enough to do, so we came, it's every 2 weeks. And as I look at the agenda, we've got one ordinance for final passage, 19 grand. It's going to take about 3 seconds. Nothing for first reading. Bunch of minor things. We're going to appoint a guy. We're going to do this. We're going to spend $250. But when I'm done talking, well, then we're going to do some stuff over here, and there's some purchase orders. I won't harp on the purchase orders that aren't with an Erie business. I'm yet to talk to you, and we're going to talk, Mr. Kaz. But what is happening? There's stasis. There's inaction. And some of you have told me things going behind the scenes. You're not really sure what's going on. Trust us, we're working. The comp plan. You were given the comp plan in March, and we approved it 2 months ago, I think, in a meeting, and somewhere on here there should be some time, a notice that there's going to be a public hearing or 2 public hearings or a whole series of them, like 7 or 10, where we go out in the neighborhoods. You go to every neighborhood. If you read the comp plan, I think there are 14 neighborhoods in the city of Erie. How cool would it be if every one of those little areas, the Garden District, this district, you had a meeting there and you invited people to come and you advertised it. But we've went 2 months and no meeting. Here's an agenda with nothing on it. Literally nothing on it. How are we going to lower taxes? How are we going to fight crime? How are you going to pass laws that help citizens? There's nothing on here. I don't think there's going to be anything next week. And maybe twice a month is still too much. Maybe we should go down to once a month, have a meeting, be a little longer. Maybe there'd be some stuff on the agenda that got done. But for a taxpayer, pay my taxes, go to work. I have 3 businesses downtown. I have 4 employees. I'm going to pay a lot more tax this year. Move 2 businesses in, one from Mill Creek, one from Northeast, to help Erie. I like Erie. I want Erie to grow. This is not growing. If on a Monday morning meeting at my business, I said, well, I'm going to buy some paper clips this week, and I'm thinking about talking about going to that thing, nothing we've done. I go out of business. We're going out of business. The city's broke. The county is going to get their budget from their people, their finance people, this week and next week. They're going to have 3 months to talk about it. Next year's budget, I'd say, is done. It's last year's budget with 3% more in it. You're going to get it December 8th. You're going to have some quick meetings up here. You're going to bring up every department head and say, do you need all that money? And they're going to say yes. You're going to pass it. It's the same old, same old. I don't see transformation. I don't see innovative. I don't see entrepreneurial. I don't see drive. Nothing. And when I'm done, one of you is going to say, I motion to pass the rest of the agenda. And hands are going to shoot up and you're going to go second that. And then we're going to have some committee reports. That's going to be 5 minutes. I didn't do anything. I got a meeting next week. I'm going to talk about next week. I'll have something next week. Or I'm going to say how great it was to go to this brunch. Everything was great, etc. So, as a citizen, as a taxpayer who pays you, again, meager salaries. I love that you're up there for $5,000 a year. Maybe you should be full-time. Maybe you should get paid more. Maybe that would help us grow. But you all raise your hand. You all want to do it. But this isn't doing it. This is doing nothing. This is just managing the decline, status quo, keeping it going. So please pass the rest of the agenda. Go home. Maybe in 2 weeks we'll have something else to talk about. Thanks.
Thank you for your time. Any other citizens to be heard?
I don't like speaking in front of people at all. I'm here tonight. My name is Jennifer Dash, and I live in the 1800 block of West 8th Street. I put all this on my iPad so I could, can you hear me? So I could read it, because otherwise my mind will wander. So the reason I'm here is I'm concerned about the condition of my section of West 8th Street. I'm just going to read off of here. Specifically, the south side from Green Garden to Lincoln, and the north side from Lincoln out to Pittsburgh Avenue. First of all, between Green Garden and Lincoln, we have the Shriners Hospital, and there's no sidewalk on the south side. So when the kids are walking to school, you'll see them walking in West 8th Street. And as a mom, I pull over and go, hey, go on the other side. But they're kids, and they're going to walk in the street. So I'd like to see sidewalk there. That's one thing. More importantly, a bigger section is from Lincoln to Pittsburgh Avenue. We have Harding Elementary, we have a fire station, a restaurant, lots of businesses, and dozens of residential homes. We also only have 2 traffic lights, one at Lincoln across from the school, and not another one until you get to Pittsburgh Avenue. This area of West 8th Street is very unsafe, not only to pedestrians and cyclists, but to other cars. The speed limit is 25 miles an hour, but you most often find cars going upward of 50 between the 2 traffic lights. Drivers veer around turning cars into areas that are intended for parking but are rarely used for that. Backing out of your driveway can be treacherous with cars that speed so fast that once you get into the street, they're literally directly behind you, even when they're as far as a block or two away when you first start backing out. I mean, they're screeching tires. Sometimes they'll veer into the eastbound lane, like if you're going on the west side. So, I mean, it's really bad. I mean, and then there's a few blocks of West A Street that has parking on the north and south side, and it's right in that little section. The rest of West A Street, if you go look, it's only on the north side of the street. So there's no real curb. So when these cars want to veer around each other, a lot of time they end up on the sidewalk. And on the north side, we also don't have a planter zone, which if you don't know what a planter zone is, it's that little strip of grass that most houses have or most city blocks have, but we don't have that for several blocks on West A Street. And so in the wintertime when they plow the snow, it goes directly on your sidewalk, and you can't shovel that heavy snow. So now you've got kids from Harding and Strong Vincent walking in the street because you can't shovel that snow. I mean, you have to get a snowplow or something, I don't know. So what I was hoping is that they would, narrow the street. Well, let me back up. Another issue on West A Street, there's numerous telephone poles that are in the middle of the sidewalk, making it difficult for wheelchairs or people with strollers to get through. So I have some pictures that I'd like to give you to show you the condition of the street, the sidewalk, the lack of a planter zone, and the telephone poles that sometimes take up to a third of the sidewalk. If you don't live there, you really don't notice how bad it is. And over the years, I've contacted my local councilmen and women. I've attended the Mayor's Roundtable meeting, which is where advocates for the disabled discuss problems with accessibility. I've contacted traffic engineering, asking about another stop sign, a stoplight, more speed limit signs. I've called the police. I've explained the issues, and I've looked into community block grants, hoping to get help improving our streets. The city's done a lot of really nice work on Lower Parade over the last several years, widening the curbs and installing lights. And on the subject of curbs, I'd like to have real curbs on our sidewalk like the city installed on West 12th Street near Green Garden. It makes it more accessible and pedestrian friendly, and I believe that West A Street has many more pedestrians and cyclists. I hope that in the coming years we can improve West A Street, and more importantly, to improve our own driving skills and be courteous wherever you're going. Just in the last 2 days, we've had 2 teen boys hospitalized because someone ran a red light, and also an 8-year-old girl was hospitalized after getting hit by a car. Both of these incidents occurred in the inner city in residential areas. My hope is to get our street fixed up and made more like other residential city streets. I think this can be accomplished by eliminating the parking zone on the south side of the street or the north side. I don't really care. If they could just make it more narrow and add a planter zone on the north side, I think that it would force people to slow down. So that's all I have, and hopefully you guys will take that into consideration. It's good timing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other citizens to be heard?
Can I give you these pictures?
Yes, Mrs. Roby will take.
Oh, you mean like just the grass? Yeah, the trees.
Yes, sir, you only get one time up here.
It'll just be one quick second.
No. Thank you.
All right. What about the orange?
You can see us after the meeting. Thank you. We do have a group of young people here. I do want to recognize this group of young people. Wait, where are you from? McDowell. Does anyone want to come up to the mic and be a representative? No? Just tell me why you're here and what class you're with.
Hi, I'm Elliot Petch, and
nice radio voice.
Thank you. My people back there are from McDowell High School. We are representing Mr. McChesney's 4th block class for, and what we're doing here tonight is we're sitting in on a council meeting to add to our government project. I went through 2 of these, and I'll definitely be at the next one. It's definitely an experience.
Well, we thank you guys for being here.
Thanks for having us.
You're welcome. All right, and with that, we will continue on with the meeting. Mrs. Roby.
Ordinances for final passage. Council file number 15965, official ordinance number 27, 2016. An ordinance in accordance with the 2016 City of Erie budget, the sum of $13,789.79 is appropriated from unappropriated and anticipated revenue for the use by the City of Erie Fire Department. These funds were received via a contribution from the PA State Fire Commissioner's Fixed Asset Program. By Mr. Kwiatkowski, seconded by Mr. Brennan, the council file ordinance bill number 15965, and now known as official file ordinance number 27, 2016, be finally passed by the City Council. Mr. Brennan, Mr. Jones, Mr. Kwiatkowski, Mr. Winarski, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Mertzky.
Just for our friends from McDowell here, when we pass an ordinance up here, under our rules, by not saying anything you're agreeing, that's a yes. And if you want to disagree and vote in the negative, then you speak into the microphone and say no. So that passed unanimously.
City Council passed official file ordinance number 27, 2016, finally by yeas 6, nays 0. New business. By Mr. Mursky, seconded by Mr. Kwiatkowski.
Mr. President, excuse me. I'd like to move the balance of the agenda.
So moved. Do we have a second?
I'll second it, Mr. President.
Any separations?
Number 4 under purchase orders.
Number 4 under purchase orders. I'd like to also separate number 1 and 2 under new business.
Under what?
Number 1 and 2 I would like under new business, and you want number 4 under purchase orders. You know what, Rose, you can leave 1 on. I'll just speak during my committee report. But just separate number 2.
I'm sorry.
You can leave 1. I'll speak to that during my committee report.
Oh, okay.
Just separate number 2, please.
2 and 15, or 2 and 4 under purchase orders. All right, moving the balance of the agenda.
Mr. President.
Mr. Witherspoon.
Call for tote board.
Okay. So, Mr. Witherspoon called for the tote board. You see the tote board up here. When there's a big vote, we use the tote board. It visually shows how we're going to vote. Mr. Witherspoon, you're going to...
Is it working?
Yes, we're going to find out. Okay, clear it. And then, all right, now everybody vote because I cleared it.
Okay, moving the balance of the agenda.
Who didn't vote?
One didn't vote. Kaz didn't vote.
I pushed mine. Hang on. Try it again.
We use this all the time.
There we go. Let there be light.
Mr. Brennan, Mr. Jones, Mr. Kwiatkowski, Mr. Winarski, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Mursky.
If you go to Gannon for electrical engineering, you can fix this for us. So they donated it back in the 70s.
Okay, by Mr. Jones, seconded by Mr. Kwiatkowski. Resolved by the Council of the City of Erie that the mayor and other appropriate city officials are hereby authorized to submit an enterprise zone application and 5-year strategy to the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development under the Keystone Communities Program for the purpose of renewing the City of Erie's enterprise zone status.
Okay, just discussion. I'd like to speak on this for a minute. Part of the changes that were made to the revolving enterprise loan fund was greater intermunicipal partnerships. We're working with Lawrence Park now, and we're going to be, through city leadership, coordinating with Lawrence Park commissioners and staff for a greater emphasis on preserving the jobs at GE, and the benefits of the enterprise zone will be expanded to that area as well. And we're working with our regional partners now in the SDBC, Small Business Development Center, Northwest Commission, Chamber and Growth Partnership, Erie Technology Incubator, and others that work to promote job preservation and job creation. And this working together is what you see a lot more of in government, are people cooperating. What our revolving loan, enterprise loan fund does is it provides loans to businesses at a low interest rate, and then what happens is as they pay the loan back with interest, that money goes back into the revolving loan fund, which allows us to give more to the next person that wants a loan. We're very judicious about who we give money to. We don't want high risk, but we also want to support small businesses and businesses that are larger that want to expand. So one of the goals in this next 5-year plan is to grow the enterprise zone loan fund so that the city can create a modest annual grant fund of $100,000. So we're hoping to get enough money into the fund that we can perpetually give out grants, not just loans. So that's what we're going to be voting on today. Any other discussion? Seeing none?
Roll call. Mr. Brennan, Mr. Jones, Mr. Kwiatkowski, Mr. Winarski, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Mursky. By Mr. Witherspoon, seconded by Mr. Brennan. Resolved by the Council of the City of Erie that the proper city officials are hereby authorized and directed to issue a purchase order to Golden Equipment Company of Mars, PA, for liners for a sweeper for the Bureau of Streets at a cost of $2,285.89. Discussion?
Any discussion? Kaz, you wanted to separate it?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought
it's okay.
I intend to vote yes for this, but I wanted to separate to make a point that I hope that the Assistant Public Works Director takes note of this. I do not want to hear any more of the same complaints week after week. So you have no excuse now. We're buying you some equipment that I think will take care of the problem. So please see to it that I get contacted by the supervisor and that we have an understanding. I don't want any more complaints at my house about the problem we discussed. That's it, Mr. President.
Mr. President.
Discussion.
Yes. Understanding Councilman Kwiatkowski's concern, but there's no way on God's green earth that you can determine what a person or a citizen is going to complain about. It may not be the same thing that brought it to the table. It may be something else that was not brought to his attention. So to say that you don't want to hear it, well, we do want to hear it, and once we hear it, we make some adjustment to make it work for the citizens. Thank you.
To correct Mr. Witherspoon, I have tried to work through the system. It doesn't seem to work, so I am using the public forum as my next outlet. And I'll tell you straight out, I've seen the problem, and the same problem is over and over and over. So all I'm asking them is, let's correct it. I am not in a position to do that. That's why he's a supervisor. So all I'm asking is, hey, you know what? If there's a reason why they can't do it, tell me. I'd like to know. Because I see the same thing over and over and over. And I get the same phone calls every week. And yes, I think we can solve it. It's very simple. Put water in the trucks.
For the people that are here, the students, in Public Works, we have street sweepers. And Mr. Kwiatkowski has witnessed the street sweepers not having water in them, and so he got a complaint, so he's bringing it to the body here, to us. And one of the things that we're purchasing are the liners to keep the water in the machine so that they can clean the streets. So that's what we're discussing here, in case you were confused on what's going on. And with that, we'll take the vote.
Okay, roll call. Mr. Brennan, Mr. Jones, Mr. Kwiatkowski, Mr. Winarski, Mr. Witherspoon, Mr. Mursky. That'll take us to committee reports, Mr. President.
All right. Before we start committee reports, I just wanted to extend our best wishes for good health for Mrs. Arrington. Mrs. Arrington has pneumonia, and she's on bed rest, doctor's orders, and so we send her our well wishes, thoughts, prayers for a speedy recovery. With that, Mr. Jones.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. President. I attended actually a few events this since our last meeting. The GCAC annual dinner was a very successful event, and it's one of those celebration of services that are being provided in our community from a variety of different angles and a variety of different demographics in our community. So it's good to see that celebration and to be a part of that on an annual basis. I also had the opportunity to participate in a small business initiative conference that was held here by the state treasurer, Pennsylvania state treasurer, at Gannon in conjunction with Gannon University and a few other local organizations. It was very well attended, and we talk a lot about business and industry, and sometimes citizens have the concept or maybe the misunderstanding that the mayor or city council can create jobs, and that's really not true. And sometimes we sell that as like a campaign slogan too, so we kind of own some of that. But the truth of the matter is it's about small business and entrepreneurship that's going to grow and enhance our community, our economic base, et cetera, as well as the necessary and as many manufacturing organizations and businesses that we can have working together. Again, a diversity of job opportunities for our citizens is extremely important. And so, again, that event the other day was about that and talked much about that, and there was a lot of information that I was able to get and was able to actually facilitate it and give it to other citizens who were concerned and weren't able to be there, and so it was a worthwhile time. Excuse me, the state treasurer was impressed with our community, and his staff were extremely impressed with our community and are definitely, we have their ear on a few issues that we're concerned about around entrepreneurship and youth development and small business improvement. So that's exciting to hear. Had a meeting with Chris Mong, who is the new appointed economic director of the Economic Development Department here in the city. Talk just in general as liaison to where things were with Mrs. Green, some projects we were working on, ideas, some successes, some not so successful endeavors and ventures, how we could move forward in the best way possible. A major part of the conversation was around the process of selecting the the organizations that will be funded through the CDBG process in the city next year. And so we are actually looking at recreating the selection process. I mean, nothing's set in stone, but we shot out a few very positive and hopefully progressive ideas around how to get more involvement, more inclusivity in that process from citizens. We have a former process that we used that was very citizen-friendly, very, very much a great process that was implemented, and we're looking to implement that again with some nuances that are changed for the 2016, 17, 18 version coming up. So I'm very excited about the possibilities of what we can do and improving and enhancing that process. It was, as we all know, we had some very significant conversations around economic development and the CDBG process and where funds went for CDBG this year. We're still looking at some options, and I mean, there's some things that I'm always looking, and I'm sure many of us on council are always looking to see how we can enhance and grow those resources, but as well as get them into the right parts of our community. Finally, I understand and I absolutely agree that the EMTA issues that we've been concerned about and talking about over the last year and a half, and I think they're extremely important, and I think we need to really bring to resolution the things that need to be brought to resolution in relation to the charter, and how that process is going to work. But I just have to I want to reframe the conversation a little bit, not specifically, actually I want to reframe it away from EMTA. We have been giving so much energy and attention to this issue, and where we are with it is really in a lot of ways just political posturing. And we have not, we have not been good at, in my opinion, giving this much energy towards the real serious concerns in our community. So we've got individuals, we're dealing with violence. We're dealing with all these crazy episodes of violence in our community, and that doesn't make a lot of our meeting agendas. It doesn't make a lot of our conversation. I think there's a pulpit that we have. Is that my time? Man, I wasn't very loud. Maybe I'm being very long, though. So I just want to reframe the conversation because, again, we have to do some work around EMTA, but there's a lot of other issues that are important that need to begin to rise back up to the surface of being handled as city business. And we put a lot of things on hold, and I don't think we can continue to do that anymore. So just kind of my pulpiteering for this evening. But I really hope that we can really start moving towards being productive again in some different areas besides just EMTA. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Winarski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Jones, because all I was going to talk about was EMTA. Go figure. But
it's still important.
People out there, please understand I've been involved or a liaison to the EMTA now for 6+ years, and it's turned into a little bit of a passion of mine that it needs to be done right. And as the charter deadline has passed, as well as this body on council and the administration has stated in the past, that service would not stop even if the charter expires. It has not. So everything is still status quo to that end, where the buses are still running even after the charter has expired. But that doesn't rest everything to forget about it for a while. We still have to stick with it. And although it's in the courts now, the EMTA is using their financial reserves to keep the buses running. And it's not too many authorities may have that option. One thing about this EMTA, and I mean, I can go back and forth on the county and the city and in the whole scenario, but the EMTA board passed this charter to renew the charter. City council voted to renew the charter. At that time, we did not know when we were voting on that there would be a county problem with renewing this particular charter. I mean, we do have one of the authorities that has been growing and expanding. You got bus service going just about everywhere. They're transparent. They've been in front of this council. The CEO's been in front of our council numerous times, just giving a State of the Union on how the EMTA is going and operating. The $80 million project down on Parade Street. It's great for the neighborhood. It's great for local jobs. It's great for local businesses. I mean, things, in all honesty, were looking good, that there shouldn't be a problem. They were operating, just Mr. Tan, the CEO, said, operating in the black. Not many authorities operate in the black. So, unfortunately, right now, for how things have developed, it's costing the EMTA some money, and very easily the county could say, okay, we'll pass the charter and let's move forward from them. If there's discussions that need to be done about the length of the charter, that can be done after a charter is in place. If there's board representation, that can still be done and changed while a charter is in place. If there's money issues, financial ways, that can still be done as a charter is in place. We gotta look at the big picture and not just other things. And believe me, I believe in good faith both councils could come to that agreement after a charter is passed or renewed. I mean, all we need to renew the charter. I think the adults from both councils can come up with a agreement that should make both sides happy. But like I said, right now it's in the courts, and I didn't mean to. Mr. Jones said we've talked about it and we've been concerned about it a long time. Well, there's a lot of people in Erie and Erie County that are affected by this, so it's one of those things I have a passion for. On a lighter note, my niece, Nicole Winarski, is getting married this weekend. Some guy named Trevor. Do I know his last name? Heck no. Should it be an SKI at the end? Probably, but it probably isn't. But I do want to welcome my family in from Texas, Colorado, Maryland, Ohio for this special weekend, and I wish my niece Nicole and her soon-to-be husband Trevor the best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Winarski. Mr. Kwiatkowski.
Yes, no real committee reports. However, we will be setting up a meeting shortly to meet the new police chief, Chief Dacus, and to get some of his ideas and to meet with us so we can tell him some of our ideas. And I know of interest to us will be items concerning the budget and his vision of the police department. So Rose is told me she's setting that up, and we should have an announcement shortly so we can get us all together. Great interest. I look out there and I see the two gentlemen that wanted to talk to me so bad are gone. So I think I'll answer their question for them while they're not here. But to think that council gets the budget in December and we rubber stamp it in 1 week it's kind of unbelievable, because if I remember, if I was at the same meeting you gentlemen were, we had discussion with the finance director about the budget and what we wanted to see, what the administration was looking for. And I know that each one of you, like myself, will meet with your various committee liaison departments. We will be going over their wishes, and then we will meet with them, and to the public will look like, well, that's the first time we've met with them, when it's not true. And I can't stand there and allow that to be said, because the process actually began 2 weeks ago. So to the public out there listening, no, this is not something that comes up in December. We've already talked about it. The other gentleman brought up about, he wanted to discuss ongoing police investigations. Well, we don't discuss that. Those things are best left to the attorneys, Department of Justice, and I'm not going to comment on any of that. My opinion has nothing to do with that. It's being handled by other people, and that's why the gentleman is a little disappointed in me not contacting him. But like Councilman Mirsky, sometimes 6 o'clock in the morning and 11 o'clock at night begs a little bit of understanding. We're not, some of us have families, we have jobs or other things we work on in life. We like to have a little sleep at about 6 o'clock in the morning. But having said that, I want to assure the public that we all regularly meet with our departments, and it's not like we do nothing during the week but wait till the meetings to come around. And I want to thank Councilman Jones for his comments. I agree with him. I think we spent a whole year on the EMTA when we got other bigger problems. Comprehensive report, the budget, violence in the community, trying to upgrade the city, bring business here, and we spent a whole year basically on something that was media driven, that basically wasted our time for a whole year, that could have been solved very simply. There's an old saying in life, where reasonable people meet, reasonable things will happen, and that didn't happen. And it's not council's fault. We were not made aware of it till after. So that's enough said on that subject, and thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Kwiatkowski. Mr. Brennan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I attended the Eagle's Nest at 12th and Pennsylvania Avenue. They had a new computer lab opening ceremony. They renovated an existing building. It was a really great thing to do, especially for that neighborhood. So it's going to provide computer stations and a classroom facility to educate the kids in that area of the city. I thought that was a great thing that I just want to congratulate Bishop Brock and his board of directors and all the people who contributed to the project to really make that what was a dream into a reality. And hopefully that type of facility could be carried out in other parts of the city, that kind of model for creating this place that for kids to go and to learn computer skills and to learn different things in the classroom setting. Also, I as a liaison report there, I did not attend the groundbreaking ceremony for the new amphitheater today, but I did want to congratulate the Port Authority for getting that going and getting the funding in place, and also Highmark for sponsoring the facility. I think it's going to be a beautiful addition. If anyone's seen the pictures of our waterfront, and also I think it'll be ready next summer for the concert series and also all the events that take place there. I also wanted to give an update on the urban agriculture that was brought forward. We had a resolution a couple of weeks ago, and the council passed a resolution to look into this, to possibly have amendments on to our zoning rules for that type, to allow that type of thing. I'm getting it together with representatives from the zoning director and the zoning officer, getting together with Erie Redevelopment Authority, Gannett University, and also our West Bayfront to talk about the initiative and talk about some of those amendments. And hopefully we can move forward pretty quickly and propose the needed amendments and to make sure that they're the right thing and the best thing for our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Witherspoon.
Thank you, Mr. President. On the legal side, I spoke with Mrs. Bolden today, and my response to her is that her son's situation is out of city council's hand, is in the legal justice department. Was that correct, sir?
As far as I understand, the Justice Department is commencing their own investigation.
Okay. That's what I thought, and that's what I told her.
Unresolved at this moment.
Yeah, that's what I told her. But I told her I would mention it and get a clarification. Thank you, sir. Rose, would you request of the engineering department to do a traffic study on West 8th Street? I believe that's between Pittsburgh Avenue and Liberty.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. And just for my report, just a few things to report. I attended the Port Authority opening today, or groundbreaking rather, for the new Highmark Amphitheater. The amphitheater down at Liberty Park was blown over during a storm, and they're building a permanent structure, and we want to thank Highmark as our community partner in providing much needed funds to give us a first-class facility. And one of the things that's really nice about Liberty Park is that it's open to everybody. All walks of life can go there. It's a public park, and it's really for a city like Erie to have a public park right on the water for everyone to enjoy. It's a first-class facility, and we're very fortunate to have that. We thank the Port Authority for having that park and Highmark for being the corporate sponsor. We also thank UPMC for stepping up and becoming the corporate sponsor with the naming rights for the new UPMC Park, the baseball stadium. With that agreement, it keeps the Erie Seawolves in town for the foreseeable future so that people can enjoy baseball, AA baseball in Erie for years to come. And also, I wanted to congratulate Michael Victor on his inauguration. He's been president of Mercyhurst for a year now, Mercyhurst University, but they had his big inaugural doings last week, and we want to welcome him to Erie, and I'm already excited at some of the ways that he wants to be a community partner, and we wish them best wishes. They have a record freshman class this year, and that's good. When we have healthy colleges and universities, it helps to have a livable city. I also had the privilege to speak to a group of young people for Constitution Day on September 16th about city government and our role as council. And I want to thank the United Way for putting that on. And we had representatives from Mercier's Prep, Iroquois School District, and Corey School District that I spoke with, along with the mayor and with Paul Wojtek from the Erie Waterworks. And anytime you get to speak to young people, and to you young people in the audience, the first thing I told them, I said, raise your hand if you know the Kardashians, and everybody raised their hand. And I said, raise your hand if you know your city council men and women, and nobody raised their hand. And so the people that make the decisions, and I said that about their congressmen and other people, they had no clue. We know people who can do nothing for us, but the people who affect our lives and make change in our lives, we're oblivious to, and that it should be the opposite way. And involved citizenry is so important to having good government. So I encourage you as young people in a civics class, a government class, to get involved, know who represents you. You're from Mill Creek Township, you're a second-class township, you have 3 township supervisors. Get to know them, and they affect your laws, they affect the way things are in Mill Creek, and same with your school board. And with that, I just briefly on EMTA, I heard on television a county councilman complaining about not knowing how the city's going to fund EMTA. I find that very ironic given the fact that they voted unanimously to cut the funding to EMTA. And I think that all of this can end today if the county would just quit holding the charter hostage and pass a charter so that we can go on with the business of serving the people. And with that, we'll go to administration because Ms. Stankiewicz is not here today. So administration, any report?
Just in response to Mel on West 8th Street there is a grant being put together, has been put together, and previously we submitted one from Pittsburgh to Green Garden for streetscaping, installation of curbs, street lighting, traffic signal upgrades. And that several years ago we submitted a Tiger grant for that for $4.8 million, and this year's grant we're submitting, it's capped at $3 million. So that's being put together right now. So we're in the process doing that'll include traffic as well.
Mr. President.
Request, Rose.
Okay.
Mr. President. Now, Dave, is that a PennDOT throughway, thoroughfare? 8th Street? That's all city?
It's all city.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
What Mr. Jones asked, there are certain streets in the city that are operated by PennDOT, such as 12th Street. You want to just tell them some of the streets? 26th Street,
38th, Pittsburgh Avenue.
Yes. So sometimes what happens is citizens come up here and they complain about something, and we want to fix it, but then we find out that it's not our jurisdiction. It belongs to the state. It's a state road. And you'll find that in Mill Creek Township, too. Route 20 goes all the way out. 26th Street turns into West Ridge Road, and that's a state highway. And so some things are out of our jurisdiction, and that's sometimes one of the difficulties is explaining that to people in government, that it's out of our hands. But we work with our partners in PennDOT to make sure that things get taken care of. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
That's all I have.
All right. And with that, we'll adjourn this meeting.
Mr. Carvey,
City Council adjourns at 8:57. Mr. Mursky, Mr. Brennan, Mr. Jones, Mr. Potowski, Mr. Winarski, Mr. Witherspoon.
All right, good job.